Good morning and welcome to our morning show for a Wednesday morning. And we have our monthly visit today with Steve Board, Richland District Superintendent, who is here. The school year is fastly going, isn't it? Man, we're almost to Thanksgiving.
It sure is. We just finished our first quarter, so we're a quarter of the way through. And our first quarter actually has the most school days that we have in a quarter. So we're well over the 25% mark, and it's going to be Thanksgiving here before long. And I'm guessing here in the next week or so, there are going to be Christmas decorations going up in the city, and the holidays will be here, and 2026 will be here before you know it. So it's going to be fantastic. But I will take this opportunity to give a shout out to all of the veterans. We had our Veterans Day assemblies at all three schools over the last couple of days. Of course, yesterday was Veterans Day, and just a tremendous thanks to the veterans who are serving or have served, and just some wonderful programs that we had in our schools yesterday. So a shout out to them as well, as long as we're here.
You bet. And we were able to carry that on the air. I'm always impressed by your music that you produce there at the high school.
Yeah, it's really something special. Our fine arts department, and again, not to take away from the focus of the veterans, but They really do an outstanding job. We are so fortunate to have a fine arts program that takes a lot of pride in what they do. We have a lot of student involvement and just some real talented leaders in those programs, and some really, really talented musicians and vocalists in our music and choir department as students. Just fantastic. It's outstanding.
Sports-wise, I'm guessing their basketballs are flying around the gym now. The girls' season's underway.
Yeah, the girls started on Monday. Our boys and wrestling start next week. So it is that time of year, and I hope they're not flying around as much as that implies, right? I hope they're actually doing it for a purpose. But yeah, it was great to just pop down to the gym. I pop down there after school lets out, 3:30, 4 o'clock most days, and in the last couple of weeks, it's just been kind of dead, right? There's no volleyball going on. There's no football going on. There's no cross country, and there's no buzz in the air. Kids are just going home. So it was kind of nice to see kids sticking around after school, and boys getting an opportunity to get in the open gym, and some kids in the weight room for wrestling. But then the girls basketball getting started as well, and better numbers than we anticipated too. So I think they're at or right around 20 kids. So that's outstanding to see as well.
That's good to hear. Speaking of cross country, the co-op with Ithaca, boy, they had a great run to state, didn't they?
Boy, they sure did. Just congratulations to those individuals. The cross country is not an easy sport, man. I mean, you think about going out there and running that distance on that terrain, and the ups and downs that they've got to do physically. I mean, from a hill standpoint, that is not an easy sport. And we were really, really talented this year. And again, the numbers in that program just continue to grow, and we appreciate the cooperative that we have with Ithaca. And I think that that's a growing sport in our community. And again, just really, really exciting to see. I know, just in talking to some of the boys and that were at the state tournament, they didn't feel like they ran their best, but I'll tell you, to have the opportunity to get there, experience that, that's just going to push them and drive them to do even better next year. So we're excited about the direction that all of our sports are heading. Certainly that one's got a good ceiling on it.
We're getting close to Thanksgiving coming up. We're getting close to deer hunting, and I think that's one of the things you kind of wanted to start off talking about today.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of deer hunting going on right now. A lot of bow hunters out in the woods. I'm going to try to take a couple days off here in the near future and get out in the woods myself. But as we get close to the gun season, the traditional 9-day season, the firearm season, it's important for all of our public to be reminded that it is illegal to have a firearm on school grounds. And it just seems like every year somebody around the area accidentally, whether it's a student that did some target shooting at the range the night before and left it in the back seat of their car, or a visitor coming into an event that for the same reasons maybe had it in the back seat of their car because they had used it in practicing. Unfortunately, you just can't do that, right? You can't have firearms on school grounds. And so I know our Carrie Stoltz, our marketing communications director, is going to be sending out something and posting on Facebook as a reminder as well, social media. But this is just an opportunity, not just the Richland School District, but any school district, just really, really be diligent about it as we lead up to the gun season. And then during the gun season, when that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a lot of events going on, right? There's basketball events probably taking place on that Tuesday in between the opening day and Thanksgiving, and it's just natural for hunters to a lot of times just keep their hunting supplies in their truck or their vehicle, and you just have to really, really be conscious that you don't bring those firearms on school grounds. We want everybody to be safe, and we don't want someone to get pinched with a pretty severe consequence for something that's relatively innocent and with no ill intent. So just be conscious of it, be diligent of it. And again, it's not just Richland Center; it's whichever school district you go to. You just can't have firearms on school grounds.
Well, you talked about it for a long time, but since the last time we talked, you did move forward in terms of being able to utilize some of the buildings in the former Richland campus, Steve.
Yeah, not only have we moved forward in trying to use them, but the school district did put in an official offer to purchase to the county to purchase the field in between Hive Drive and the parking lots. Next, let's say it would be west of the gymnasium. The parking lots to the south of the gymnasium, there's two of them there between Brush Creek and the buildings, the gymnasium itself, and Melville Hall. And we put in an offer to purchase. Our school board deliberated on that in closed session in July and put in an offer. And now that has all become out, and I want to be very transparent with it. I should back up a little bit. School boards and municipalities have the ability to go into closed session for only a handful of very specific things. You'll see boards go into closed. Some boards actually abuse that privilege a little bit. We try to be very diligent about it. We want to be transparent with our community with what we're doing. But there are times that it is something that needs to be discussed in closed. And so negotiations is one of those things. And so this was done and closed by our school board initially in July because really for two reasons. One, we didn't want to put the county in a position where they felt pressured to do something, right? If they had plans, because we had no former communications with them to see if this was an option or if this was something they would be willing to do. And so we didn't want to put pressure on them. If they had other plans for the campus and then for the school district to come in and make a public offer, right, that's available for everybody, there could be sides taking place. Well, why don't you sell it to the school, or why don't you do this? And that puts everybody in kind of a tough situation. So we wanted to avoid that. Two, from a strategic standpoint, we also didn't want to put the county in a position where we were putting in an offer for $1 because we're a governmental entity very similar to the campus. Our taxpayers have already paid for it. But if there were members of the public that said, well, they're putting in an offer for $1. I'd like to buy the gymnasium for my grandkids to shoot hoops at for $50,000. All right, now the county's in a position where they've got to decide: do we take $50,000 to a private entity, or do we take $1 to a non-private entity? And so for those reasons, we just thought it was best for everybody to do the initial negotiations in closed. And again, the law allows both parties to do that. Once the negotiations had kind of finished, right? There were some verbal exchanges coming back and forth. And once we kind of agreed that these were the terms, then the county acted on it in the middle of October. And I think the very next week, then the school board acted on it just because of the timings of the meeting. Both of them approved the offer to go through. And so there were a couple of adjustments that were made to the original offer. One, the county wanted the school district to take the property to the south of Brush Creek. So from Brush Creek to the highway makes perfect sense to keep all of that property as one. There's no reason for the county to own one sliver on the south side of the creek. So that certainly was accommodated. They wanted to have the ability to expand the Simons parking lot in the future if they needed that. So again, we certainly are willing to do that. And then because the property to the south of Brush Creek, between the creek and the Highway 14, the Simons sign is on that property. So if that property gets transferred to the school district in this purchase, then we need an easement built so that Simons can continue to have access to having their sign. We certainly don't want to make them having to move their sign. So, but again, all three of those things were generally agreed upon, and part of the counter offer that the county made the school district, and then the school district ultimately approved that. So we're in the process right now. I am just finalizing a request for proposal, an RFP, to send out to area surveyors, because we're going to have some survey work done, because right now that's all one county parcel. And so we're going to have to parcel off the section that the school district is looking to purchase. And so we're working with the county, and we're going to send out a request for proposal on some bids for surveyors here in the near future. I'm hoping to have it out here this week. If not, first part of next week, and get some requests or proposals back in. And then in the meantime, we've got an MOU in place with the county. I should also add that one of the things that the county was concerned about is the ability for Simons to be able to still use the gym. And again, right now, the school district and Simons and the county have a very good relationship, and we're certainly able to. Everybody's kind of making it work in the times that they need it. And we certainly want to continue that, right? We're certainly not looking to purchase this to kick anybody out. We want to make this something that's available to our community, and still have some of the access that we need. So then the question really becomes, that's kind of the story about how it all happened, but why, right? Why does the school district want this, or why does the school district feel it needs it? So let's just back up to the 2020s when we looked at putting our 7th and 8th graders, consolidating into 3 buildings, right? We moved our 7th and 8th graders up to the high school. We reconfigured, moved our 3rd through 6th graders at what is now the intermediate school, our pre-K through grade 2 at the primary school. When that happened, we created a situation where we were now taking advantage of the classroom space that we had, because we had a lot of openings at our high school, but we also created a situation where it was problematic for our 7th and 8th graders with the increased number of PE classes that we had to offer, as well as the after-school programs with athletics that, our gyms were already being used by our high school students, our 9 through 12 students. In the old days, our 7th and 8th graders would have been practicing at what was then the middle school gym. Well, the first year we tried busing them back and forth. Transportation is costly. It's also logistically problematic, because the flow of our buses, they come from the other buildings and they end at the high school, and that's the final transfer, and then they go on their routes. And so that's unfair for us to ask any transportation company to now say, well, you're coming to the high school, and now we're going to take 37th and 8th graders, we're going to put them on a bus, and now you got to go back to the intermediate school or the middle school to take them down there. And so it was costly, it was logistically problematic. It added 15 to 20 minutes onto bus routes where other students now had to sacrifice and basically stay on the bus that long. And then when we started our STING program, that gym became not available anymore. So we definitely felt the need for more gym space when our 7th and 8th graders moved up to the high school. Again, gracious that the county was willing to have an MOU in place. Again, we've had this in place for a long time. We were able to move a lot of our events over to the campus gymnasium, and that worked really, really well. Before 2024, when we talked to the community about going to referendum, we basically had 3 options that we were presenting. There was a Band-Aid approach, kind of I believe it was $12 million to just kind of get a few things fixed, the things that absolutely had to be fixed. There was the $27.1 million, which ultimately ended up being the one that the board chose and the one that our community passed, which is the current referendum status that we're doing. And then there was a $40.1 million referendum option that included building a new weight room and a new gymnasium onto our existing building. And our board got some feedback from the community at that time and ultimately made the decision it didn't make sense for our community to build a new gym when there was a gym available just a few hundred yards away, right at the campus. And because we had a good relationship with the county, our board decided that we don't need to build a gym when there's one right there. So I guess my point to that is that the gymnasium, that space is used a lot by our school district. We want to continue to have it being used by our school district and the community, specifically Simons and the county, to have access to it. But also, we've needed a gym space, all along. We've needed it since our 7th and 8th graders have moved in there. we wanted to be financially responsible, not build a new gym and have that being onto the taxpayers. So essentially, our taxpayers in the end, instead of that additional $13 million to build a new gym, we're purchasing a gym for $1. And we understand that there's going to have to be some upkeep, and we're hoping and optimistic that there's going to be some referendum savings from the projects that we are committed to doing, that we will be able to put some additional dollars into this property and get it ready for use. And then the final piece to that is Melville Hall. Why Melville Hall? Well, as we've talked about on the air, and I don't think is any secret to our community, is that we've created a lot of alternative education options in our school district. And it's one of the things that has really propelled us into something that we have that other school districts don't have. We have an expanded Hive program, which is an online program that we've got 2 teachers dedicated to. We have an off-campus alternative education that is currently being done at the public library. We've got Partner, which is, at the former East Hall building, but they are limited in the space that they have. And we're currently renting space out at the old Rockbridge School, Bethlehem Lutheran Church, renting some space out there for the new I Thrive program. All of those programs are going really, really well, but they're all spread out into 4 different locations. And so one of the things that we're really excited about with the purchase of Melville is the structure of that building was originally structured for faculty offices, right? And so there's a lot of small offices in there. For most cases, that doesn't work real well. Most people don't want just a bunch of little, 10 by 10 offices. That works really, really well for our students at Partner, because one of the things that they have at Partner is 6 or 8 of those spaces. They can put 2 or 3 students in each space. Students have to be able to work with a quote unquote a roommate, so to speak, but they also get the privacy of having their own space, all right? And that's one of the things that has made Partner really, really beneficial. If we can replicate that and expand that and move some of that over into the Melville Hall, that allows us to expand Partner and still keep the things that we really, really like about the Partner charter school. We also have access, or would have access, to a mechanical space. Right now we have a wood shop at the north end of East Hall, where Partner's at, but there is a mechanical shop that is on the south end of the gymnasium. That also allows our partner schools to have access to those things. So students who are interested more in the mechanics, they could be housed potentially in the Melville space, obviously with adult supervision. And those that are interested maybe more in the woodworking, they can be housed more in the East Hall. And we get a chance to expand something that's going really, really well. In addition, the I Thrive program, again, we're paying rent to a facility out in Rockbridge. We're having to transport food out there. We're having to transport students out there. If we can move that to a portion of the Melville Hall as well, there's the green space just to the north of that. We can have a playground. We have access to the gymnasium, which is something we don't necessarily have out at Rockbridge. There's still plenty of nature opportunities for them to expand. Simon's is right there, and we're hoping to be able to enter into some good agreements with them for our students to be able to use that. And then our off-campus alt-ed that is currently at the public library, we can, put all of our students there. All of those things, having them in one space, not only is it one space, but it literally butts up next to our high school right now. So it's really just an extension of our current property. But all of the logistics that go into educating students, from transportation to delivering food to having access to the other services that are available, the proximity of it just makes it so much more convenient and so much more worthwhile. So we're really, really excited about the opportunities. We think it's going to be, we're extremely fortunate that we have such a great relationship with the county, that they were willing to do this, saw the value in keeping part of the campus in an educational setting, which I think is also a value just from a public standpoint. But being an extension of our high school and really being the hub of our alternative education options, I think is going to be really, really neat. And again, we're very optimistic and very confident that we're going to be able to do some upgrades with the current referendum. So it's not something we have to go back to referendum for. Will we be able to do everything that we want to do? Probably not at this point, but I think it'll give us a good plan. And the thing about that is if this takes off the way we have seen it take off initially, it's going to increase our enrollment, which increases revenue, which actually allows us to do more for those places in the future. So that's kind of the entire story of the campus. We want to be fully transparent with it, but we're very, very excited about the opportunity. And the next steps now are going to be to get that parceled off and surveyed, and then we'll do the closing documents. And I don't necessarily know when that is going to happen. Kind of internally, just kind of planning for a December, 31st or the end of December, first part of January. But that may change a little bit. There's obviously not property taxes that have to exchange because neither entity pays that, but it's still got to go through all the hoops, right? The title work, the parceling, the logistics and things like that. So I just don't know how long that's going to take, but sooner rather than later, I hope.
Could you see Melville Hall being utilized this school year yet by the district?
It's possible, but in a very light capacity. We may start to transfer some of the things over there, but both partner and I thrive. If it's partner, we need adult supervision, right? So we would have to try to hire somebody, and that's not necessarily in the budget for this year. So it's unlikely that partner would be. It's unlikely that I Thrive would be there because we've got to do some renovations, and our students are comfortable out there, and we've got the lease with them right now. It's possible we could start to move the alternative education options that we're currently doing at the public library. That's probably something that could happen sooner rather than later. And it's also possible that we could start to explore some opportunities for our Hive program, or our online program, for our teachers to be housed and our students to have a place to go for some tutoring or some extra help as well. But those are things that it really will depend on what renovations have to be made, and is it easier to just get them done when nobody's in there, or is it something they can do the renovations and work around the people.
I understand the gym, the floor was recently, redone some years ago, but I mean, it's still good. But what about some other things that need to be worked on in that building?
Yeah, and of course, I'm not a mechanical expert. We did have the folks from Nexus come in, I believe 2 weeks ago now, and do a facility assessment and give us some feedback on what we could do for the amount of money, the best bang for our buck. We also have the facility assessment that the county did here recently, as well as, I believe it was in 2012, I believe they had a full facility assessment done with all of the mechanicals and all of that. And again, we've passed that along to Nexus. They're reviewing all that as well as they're on site, and they'll be able to give us some suggestions on what needs to be done. From a layman's perspective, we know that the boilers are old in the gymnasium. We know that some of the air conditioning units in Melville are older and need a replacement. The roofs look good. As you mentioned, the floor is good. Structurally, both buildings are sound. There's some electrical work that needs to be done because some of the electric that feeds other buildings on the campus property comes into the gymnasium, so that'll have to be worked out. Locker rooms, might need a little bit of renovation, but they work and they're space right now. The bathrooms, is always it's a catch-22 because they could use some renovation. I don't know that they're up to current ADA code. They were built ADA compliance at the time, and but as soon as you start doing renovations, then oftentimes you can get into something that might cost $20,000 might end up costing $200,000 because of all the other renovations that you have to do to bring it up to code. And again, that's not to imply that we don't want to be up to code. It is up to code as it built right now, but as soon as you start making renovations, you've got to bring it up to current code. So we'll have to explore that as well. But the gymnasium itself is mostly a turnkey building. I mean, it's ready to go. We've hosted events. I think we just had an event over there, a middle school event on Monday or Tuesday of this week. So, I mean, we're using it right now. Simons is using it right now. So I don't know that there has to be a lot that has to be done, but certainly if we have the opportunity, we want to take advantage of things that could avoid more costly expenses down the road.
And the Simons agreement, they have it a certain part of the day, and then you have it the last part of the day?
That's the way it is right now. We'll have to enter into a new MOU, basically with the roles reversed, because we would then be the owner and they would be the user of it. But again, it's fully our intent to continue to work and cooperate with Simons. Instead of using and booking the facility through them, they'd be booking it through us. But essentially, the roles are reversed, and to the common person, I don't think there'll be any change in services at all. Again, Mike Hardy and us have a great relationship as well. They're all wonderful to work with, so we don't anticipate any problems at all.
Steve Board, Richland District Superintendent, our guest on the morning show, and we'll be right back. Steve Board is our guest on today's morning show, talking about the Richland District. I think we want to talk a little bit about elections coming up here.
Yeah, we do have elections coming up here for next April, the spring election, and that's typically when the school board elections are. And we have 3 seats that are up for election. We have 2 at-large positions. Sheila Troxel's, her term is up. Okay, and so she's an at-large position, so that's available for anybody who lives in the Richland School District boundaries. Jill Sharp was appointed this last spring, and so her position is up. Whenever somebody is appointed at the next election, they've got to be reelected. So you can only be appointed for so long. And so she was appointed, and so again, she's an at-large. So technically 2 at-large positions. And then Tiffany Thompson was also appointed. So her seat is actually that seat is not due until the term ends in 2027. But again, because she was appointed, that seat will have to be up for election in 2026 as well. So she represents Area 1 East, and Area 1 East consists of the townships of Henrietta, Orion, Rockbridge, Richland Township, Buena Vista, and Willow. So if you live in one of those townships and are a resident of the Richland School District, then you would be eligible for that Area 1 East seat as well. So December 1st will be when the packets will be available for anyone who is interested in running for an election. The current board members, I don't know their individual intent. I've been given no indication that they're not planning on rerunning, right? But that's up to them individually. They would have until the end of December to declare non-candidacy if they're choosing not to run. But anyone, regardless of whether they're running or not, anyone that meets the criteria that I just explained there is welcome to run for an election in April. The deadline for turning in ballots is very, very early in January. I think it's the 3rd, but I'd have to double check the calendar on that. But again, if you're interested in what it's like to be a board member, what are the duties of a board member, I'm happy to sit down and talk to anybody or give me a call at the district office. And then once December 1st rolls around, we'll have some folders available, and anybody who's interested can come up to the district office and pick up a folder. We'll explain the process at that point, and then they would just have to turn it back in by the deadline. So we do have those three seats, again, 2 at-large and 1 Area 1 East, which is a rural area that represents the eastern part of our district boundaries.
Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction report card. That was released recently, and I believe the school district looked pretty good, right?
Yeah, we're excited about this. Every school district's report cards, every school district in the state's report cards were released yesterday, actually, by the Department of Public Instruction, the DPI, and we were ecstatic about the report card that we received. We received a rating for the intermediate school that was a 4-star, exceeds expectations. And then we received for our high school, again, also a 4-star, which was exceeds expectations. And then our district as a whole received that same score of a 4-star and exceeds expectations. So we were 3 for 3 on all 3 of the report cards, both the 2 individual entities and the district as a whole that exceeded expectations and got that 4-star. Very, very good scores. Some may ask, what about the other schools? Okay, well, our primary school is a building that consists of students pre-K through grade 2, and they don't start. The state doesn't start the standardized testing until grade 3. And so while some elementary schools, if you were a K-5, for instance, you would get a report card because you take tests in grades 3 and 4, and et cetera. Because our primary school doesn't go up to grade 3, it only goes to grade 2, they won't get a report card, okay? And some of our alternative schools won't get a report card because last year when this testing data was taken, they didn't have enough students. And so when a school district or a building has a limited number of students, I think it's less than 30, they won't issue a report card because the breakups of the report card could lead to identifiable information. If there's just not that many students, somebody could break that down and say, well, this is the only male Hispanic with a disability, and therefore I can tell from that report card that's that person, and that would lead to identifiable information. And so they make sure that if they're going to issue a report card, that there's enough students there. And so that's why our partner school doesn't get a report card. They may in the future if we exceed that. And again, we talked about wanting to grow that. And our Hive program, next year they will, because this year's enrollment is well over that number. But last year, as we were looking at how do we want to revamp our online program, there were only 12 or 13 students in the what was then known as the ROA, and so that entity didn't get a report card for this year. But still outstanding. One of the biggest things that we have seen and what we focused on actually is our growth, right? We have our bottom 25%. We saw a few years ago that they were significantly below where other students or other school districts' bottom 25% was. And so we had a lot of growth to do at the bottom. Not to say that our top was pretty good, but not to say that our middle didn't need to move up as well. But we really focused on the growth. And you can see that in our report cards because that is a component of the report card. And I believe when you look at the CISA 3, which is 31 schools here in southwest Wisconsin, going all the way to the river, Prairie, Platteville, and coming around. We're one of the more northern school districts, like you get up into Hillsboro, and they're in, I believe, CISA 4. But CISA 3, this southwest school or area of the state, 31 schools. We finished 9th for total report card score. That's the same ranking that we had last year. Just to put it in perspective, though, in 2022, I believe we were 28th out of 31. So we've seen significant progress in our report card. We've definitely, Dr. Sherry Johnson and our entire staff have done a remarkable job of implementing our curriculum and getting things aligned. But our growth score is really what excelled. Okay, last year we were second in CISA 3 for our growth. This year we were first, the top school out of 31 for the amount of growth that we've shown. Now we still have some work to do in overall achievement, and we still have some work to do in our state test scores. But our district report card, again, exceeding expectations in all categories. One of the top in our conference, our Southwest Wisconsin Conference, and certainly in the top third in all of CISA 3. And we're excited about that. We're proud of that. We're really commending our teachers and our students and our families for instilling faith and trusting the school district for educating their children. And I think we're doing a pretty good job and moving in the right direction. By the same token, we have some work to do yet, right? It's a little bit like sports, right? You win a conference championship, you want a regional championship. You win a regional, you want a sectional. You win a sectional, you want to win a state championship. Kind of the same mentality I have as a school district. Yes, we're proud of what we've done, but we still have some work to do because we want to be the best. We want to be the best school district around, and we want to educate our students in the best possible ways and offer the best possible options for them. And our district report card conveys that we're moving in the right direction, but it also shows that we can still do some improvement. So we're excited about the opportunity.
Enrollment-wise, I think you're pretty happy with where you stand, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a great segue because of some of these alternative education options that we have. We recently pulled new enrollments since the end of last year, okay? Now, just to put this in perspective a little bit, on a normal year, when you look at the past decade or so, we may get 15 to 20 new families enrolling into the Richland School District. That would be what I would call a normal year. Sometimes it's students that are coming back to our district, a handful of those. Sometimes it's families that are moving into the Richland area and they're enrolling in the school district. Sometimes every once in a while it's a homeschool family that is coming back into our district. But as a general rule, right around 15, maybe 20 is where we've been. And that is excluding 4K and early childhood, because technically all of those students are new enrollments, right? They're enrolling for the first time in the school district. So we're not counting those students. They're already enrolled. But we're talking from basically kindergarten through grade 12. This year, from June 6th, June 5th was our last day of school, through the end of October, the Richland School District had enrolled 117 new students. 117 students. You think about that, that's greater than our senior class that just left. It's basically like saying, you have 109 seniors, you're graduating, but we're going to replace you with 117 students across the district. Now, we've lost a few students as well, but I don't know that I've ever seen, certainly not the Richland School District, but ever even heard of another school district making that much gain in one summer to have 117 new enrollments. And a big credit to the principals that we have and the staff that we have in the buildings, but again, also these alternative education options. The Hive program is a great option. We've got a lot of homeschool families that have now enrolled because they can still do school at home, but the curriculum is provided, and we've got in-person teachers that are available, the partner school, the iThrive, all of the different options that we've talked about, in addition to just having a better culture and having a higher standard of excellence and really making connections with kids. We've talked in the past about every student has every student has a positive connection with an adult. All of those things make a difference, and we're excited. These are not open enrollments. These are new enrollments of kids that are living in our district, that are coming to the Richland School District, coming back to the Richland School District, moving into our district. And I just think that shows tremendous growth. Instead of declining enrollment, we've actually increased a little bit, and I'm excited about that.
What about enrollment for the high school? Is that staying pretty stable, Steve?
Yeah, well, our biggest classes are in our junior class and our senior class. And so our junior and senior class both are over 100 students. And then after that, we drop dramatically down into the 80s. And that's through from grade 10 all the way down to kindergarten and pre-K. But while we've gained 117 students, they've gained across all of those grades. And so we don't have the big increase. I guess to your point, as the junior class and the senior class graduate, and even if we replace them with the same number of kids, because they're replaced over a span of grades, our high school enrollment is going to continue to decline. Our district enrollment may stay pretty steady, but we're just not going to see classes of 110, 115 kids anymore after these last two grades, our juniors and our seniors, graduate. So our high school enrollment is definitely going to decline in some ways.
I was looking at that, just covering sports, and I hadn't looked at enrollments for the Southwest Conference for quite some time, but I was really surprised how a school such as Prairie du Chien, Richland Center has at least 100 more students now in the high school than Prairie du Chien. I always assumed they were as large or larger than Richland Center.
Yeah, I've made the same general assumption before myself, and I believe outside of Platteville, I think we've got the most enrollment in our conference, but it used to be that they were all fairly close together, maybe with the exception of Lancaster being, low, but Prairie's about 100 kids less. River Valley's lost some students as well. Dodgeville's lost some students. Like everybody around the state has had declining enrollment, but some of those schools have really lost a lot of students, and from a sports standpoint, even on the fringe of possibly moving down a division when it comes to some of those things as well. So again, we're fortunate that we've been able to stay status quo and be fairly steady, knowing that we're going to have a couple more years of enrollment loss, and we may drop another 50 kids as these two junior and senior classes graduate, but hopefully we don't get to the point that those other schools have.
Strategic planning, is that going on right now?
Yeah, just kind of touch on that just a little bit. Our board is looking at doing some strategic planning, and so in December and in January here, they're going to be trying to get a steering committee together made up of some community members, a very diverse group of community members. We want to make sure we represent all different demographics, makeups of people with students, kids in school, people without, retired, non-retired workers, business owners, etc. Put together a steering committee and then have an event in March or April-ish where it's a big community event where we sit down and we really hear from the community and what does the community want from its public school. And we will hire an outside agency to facilitate that so it's completely unbiased. The administration and the board is not going to be directly involved in it. It's going to be run by this group of people and really input from our community, because in the end we're a public school. We represent the public, and every public may be looking for something slightly different for its public school. And the last couple of years we've tried to model our school districts off what we think that they want, but this is going to give us the really good data to say this is what your community wants from your public school. And that then should help us drive what happens to our school in the future, and we can put our resources and our focus on the things that our community wants. So just a little plug, you'll be hearing about it in the future. I'll talk about it probably a little bit more in depth when we talk in December, but that's going to be coming right around the corner. And so if you're interested or you know somebody who might be really interested in doing that, start thinking about that. And when you hear the opportunity, make sure that you're involved, whether it's to be on that small group of a steering committee or to be involved, which would be open to everybody in the school district, a resident of the school district, when we do those community events in March and April.
Is there much to talk about in terms of construction with the district right now?
Well, we're moving along. The primary school is just about done. We're hoping that the kindergarten rooms are going to be turned over to us shortly before Christmas, and we'll be able to transition all 4 of the classrooms that have taken other spaces, right? We've got one kindergarten classroom and a music room. We've got another kindergarten classroom and an art room. The music teacher and the art teacher, they're doing art on a cart or music on a cart, and they're traveling. So there's a lot of inconvenience there. But if we can get those classes back in there by the start of the year, everybody should be able to get settled in. Nexus is mostly done with everything else. There's a little bit of punch list work that needs to be done, and we're still trying to finalize the internet and those kinds of things. But they're wrapping up. They're doing some work over at the intermediate school. The restrooms that they have built just off the end of the gym, those should be done here early part of December. And then once those are open, then they can start strategically shutting down other restrooms and working on them during the school year, knowing that the students and staff will have a new restroom to use. They're also doing a lot of work underneath in the basement and up above as they're starting to install some of the HVAC and some of the plumbing upgrades and things like that need to happen, trying to be as least disruptive to the students as possible. Most of their work is done early mornings or in the evenings, but we're moving along. And then high school looking to start next summer. So we're excited about it. And of course, you never know. We have to save some money in case there's an unforeseen circumstance. We've got those contingency funds, but by the same token, every day we get a little bit closer to knowing where our budget's at. It's looking very promising.
Great talk today. I was thinking as I was preparing this morning how long you and I have been talking, because it goes back to when you were the UW Richland women's basketball coach.
That's right. I have a lot of memories in that gym.
Absolutely.
My very first win came in that gym. So.
I remember contacting Pat Fellows, who was the athletic director at the time, and I said, who is this new coach? And she said, well, he's a student here on campus. And I'm thinking, a student on campus is coaching?
That was me.
That goes back a long ways.
I was 19 years old when I got my first coaching job. I actually had a player on the team that was older than I was. My very first year coaching at UW Richland. So,
wow!
When I look at like Sean McVay for the Rams, and he's so young, and he's got these players on there, and I have a little bit of appreciation for how that works. So,
for that,
yeah, we've had a great relationship. I certainly appreciate it.
You bet. It will continue in December. We'll see you back
Absolutely.
here.
You bet.
Right. Thanks, Steve. Steve Board, Richland District Superintendent, joining us here on our morning show.